So today we're going to be adding one more step onto that and also be exploring first a word problem to get a feel for the actual two steps that we're going to be using. And also throughout this whole process of learning about the two variable equations, we're going to learn more about the other subjects that use this kind of equation. We touched upon how chemistry uses it, and physics, and also other fields that are not in science, like economics. Due to the fact that they use a lot of numbers and all that jazz, we're going to see how we can implement one variable equations into finding different values like mass, and if you want to start a business, and all those different ideas. So, like always, we're going to start off with a word problem. We're going to change that into a two-variable equation, and then we're going to solve it. So, first we have our word problem, and we're going to read it, and as we read it, each of you are going to underline or circle important terms that we want to include into the equation. So, Jackie, can you please read this out loud for us, and everyone do your job.
331 students went on a school field trip. 6 buses were filled, and 7 students traveled in their own cars. How many students were in each school bus?
Great. So, as we looked at these, at the problem, and we circled, we're going to divide them into these categories of information. What we know, so what we're given a value for, and what we don't know, and that will turn into our variable. So, as we read the problem, what was one of the terms that you circled? Seth?
6 buses.
6 buses, all right. And would that go under the known or unknown?
No.
Great, because we know a value. Okay, another term? Kia, I heard your sorry, your hand.
331 students.
331 students, great. And known or unknown?
No.
No, we know the value. Great. Another term that we circled? Jackie?
7 students.
7 students. And which column would that go under?
No.
No. Great. And is there another thing that we need to use? Go ahead, Seth.
How many students were on each bus?
How many students were on each bus? Great. And which column would that be?
That's unknown.
Unknown. So that will turn into our
Variable.
variable. Great. So this is a whole chart that we filled out together. And to construct the normal equation, we have the two sides. And what's always included in the equation?
Equal sign.
An equal sign. Great. Because equation has equal. So the normal setup would be having the addends on one side, equal sign, and then our total on the other. So out of all these values, which one would be our total? Tia?
331.
331 students. Great. So we would put 331 over here, and then we have our addends. So first we're going to work with our variable term. So our variable term needs to have a variable. So what variable would you guys want to use? Jackie?
S.
S. S sounds good for students. Great. So if we have our variable term, we need to either have a coefficient for it, or it's going to stand alone. Now, do you see any sort of correlation with this variable and other information that we still have? Tia?
The 6 buses.
6 buses. So, if we want to put them together, how are you going to explain why you're putting the 6 as a coefficient?
Because there are 6 buses, and there are S number of students that fill each bus.
All right. So if we have a bus, if we say this is our bus, and it holds 10 students, and then we have 4 of these buses which all hold 10 students, what operation are we using? So,
Multiplication.
multiplication. So that's why we call it have a coefficient. Coefficients are multiplied to the variable it is. So we'll have our coefficient as 6 multiplied to our variable s, number of students. So as we start writing our equation, we already have 331 students as the total. And then we found out that our variable term was s, and the coefficient is 6, so we have 6s over on the admin side. And then we have this last piece of information. So how are we going to put this into our equation if we have 7 students left? So
I'm gonna add them to the 6s.
add them to the 6s, because if we add them to 6s, the total number of students on the buses, as students that didn't take the buses, we would have the total number of students that went on the trip. So we add our 7, and we come out with our equation. 6s plus 7 equals 331. Now we're actually going to start solving for s using our VIP, and follow steps to solve for s.
This is not the end, this is not the beginning. Just a voice like a riot rocket every